friends, today's topic is graph theory. In mathematical domain, graph theory is apparently a new topic, but it have a wide application in our technological life. For instance, computer graphics, computer games, circuit theory, printed circuit, compiler design, automata theory, data structure, communication system, and yes, Google Map. All these are based on graph theory. So at first we come to know about the definition of graph. Graph is a build-up with some nodes and lines. For example, here V1, V2, V3, V4 and V5 we say as the nodes or the vertices of a graph. And these vertices are connected by some lines. These are E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6. These lines, not necessarily a straight line. The thing matters is it is connected to vertices. So any two vertex may connect by a line. That line not necessarily a straight line. It may be a curved line. It may be any kind of line. But the thing is, it is connected. So vertices and edges, these are the two things for a graph which is denoted by G. This vertices V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, with that we form a set that is called the vertex set. And with the edges E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, we form another set which is called the edge set. Now we define a function from the E set to the V set in such a manner so that we can understand the connectivity of each edge by the vertices. For instance, if E1 is the edge which is connected with V1 and V2, so that according to the function we can define f of E1 is equals to V1 V2. Similarly, E2 is the edge which is connecting with V2 and V3, so that we write here f of E2 is equals to V2 V3. Accordingly, for the other edges also we can do so that we can understand how these connectivities are there. So for example, we can say about the graph is, a graph is a pair of sets V and E, where V is the non-empty set of vertices and E is the set of edges, such that there is a mapping from the set E to the set of ordered or unordered pairs of elements of V. So here ordered and unordered, these two terms are there. Unordered means here in this graph the edges are drawn but they have no particular direction. Here any edge means it is connected with two vertices. So we can say these two are the end points of the edge. If there are no particular direction, then it is called the undirected graph. And for E1, we can say it is connected with V1, V2. Again, we can say E1, it is connected with V2, V1. So it doesn't matter that V1 comes first or V2 comes first. This is called the unordered pairs. If in this graph there are some particular directions provided, then this is called the directed graph. So undirected graph means if there are no particular direction provided to the edges, and if the particular directions are provided to the edges, then it is called the directed graph. For the directed graph, now if we consider the edge E1, then in this edge for V1 we say the starting vertex and V2 we say the end vertex. That time when we write through this function, that time it is f of E1 is equals to V1 V2, not V2 V1, because it is a directed graph and direction is provided. So according to that we can't write V2 V1. So that is your ordered or unordered pair. Ordered pair means a particular direction is provided. Unordered pair means direction is not given. So according to that, we have two more kind of graph. One is called the undirected graph. Another one is called the directed graph. There is another graph that is called the mixed graph. In mixed graph, it may be possible that few lines have a direction and few edges have no directions. So according to that, it is a mixed graph. Important. It may be possible that one edge have a starting and end point the same. That means here E1 is the edge which started at the vertex V1 and it will ended at the same vertex V1. Such type of edges can create the self loop. So an edge associated with the same starting and the ending vertex is called the self loop. Now it is the parallel edge. Two or more edges associated with the same pair of vertices are called parallel edges. In this graph, look here, if this is V1 and V2, then V1, V2 connected with more than one edges. So all these edges are called the parallel edges. Parallel edges means here not that these should be parallelly and not intersecting, but how many connections are there in between two same vertices. These all edges are called the parallel edges. Next very important type of graph is called the null graph. In a graph, we know there are two things. One is the vertex set and another one is the edge set. If in a graph, edge set is an empty set, vertex set may be anything. It may have one vertex, two vertex, three vertex, it doesn't matter. But in vertex set may be any number of elements. Edge set has to be an empty set. Then it is called the null set. So this is the example of the null set. Only vertices are there. Next it is the simple graph. This is the beginning of the important graphs now. Simple graph is a graph which have no self loop, no parallel edges. So a graph without any self loop and parallel edges is called the simple graph. Now we have the multigraph also. Multigraph means a graph with only the parallel edges is called the multigraph. Then it is the pseudograph. A pseudograph means a graph with parallel edges and the self loop. In a graph, if both parallel edges and the self loop all are exist, then it is called the pseudograph. Another thing is the weighted graph, which is again very important here. Weighted graph means a graph is given and its edges have a specific weight, say 2, 3, here 5, 6, 1, 3 again. So this one is called the weighted graph. Here for each and every edge a particular weight is provided. What this weight stands for? Suppose the vertex V1 and V2, it have weight 2. This weight 2 means 2 may be anything. It depicts the distance, it depicts the time, it depicts the weight, anything. So it is ultimately measures that from V1 to V2 if you want to reach, then you have to spend 2 units. It may be weight anything. So this type of graphs are called the weighted graph. If nothing is provided, no weights are provided to the graph, then by default we assume that each edge have the weight 1. This type of graph is called the weighted graph. So there are some graph terminologies. It is simple graph which is undirected. Then simple graph have no parallel edges, no self loop. If it is multi-graph, then it have the parallel edges but no self loop. Pseudograph means it have the parallel edges as well as the self loop. Then directed simple graph. Directed means the particular direction of the edge is provided. Directed simple graph have no parallel edges, no self loop. Directed multi-graph means the edge is definitely directed and it have the parallel edges but no self loop. Hello friends, welcome to the second lecture. This lecture is about degree of a vertex. Let G be a graph with 5 vertices and 8 edges. For each individual vertex, we are supposed to calculate the degree of the vertex. So, how to calculate the degree for each individual vertex? Let the vertex is V1. For this vertex V1, we should find out that how many edges are incidenting to this vertex. And this particular count of edges is called the degree of V1. Here in V1, we looked at E1, E6, E5 and E7. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4 edges which are incidenting to the vertex V1. So, we can say the degree of the vertex V1 is 4. So, degree of the vertex we can write in this format degree of V1, or it is degree V1 or dV1. So, this degree of V1 is 4 according to our calculation. Now come to the vertex V2. Here V2, here look, one self loop is given. If any loop is given in a vertex, then for any loop, it should contribute to the degree 2 to the vertex. Actually, any edge means it have 2 endpoints. 2 endpoints means one edge contributes the degree 2 to the graph. For both the endpoint, one individual degree. If it is a loop, then for the loop starting and ending, both vertices are same. For that reason, V2, if it have a self loop, then V2 get 2 degree for the self loop. So now if you want to count the degree of the vertex V2, then its degree count is 1, 2, and for the self loop 2 more. So total 1, 2, 3, 4. So the degree for V2 is also it is 4. Now for the vertex V3. For the vertex V3 only one edge is incidenting here, so that its degree count is 1 only. Now the vertex V4. For the vertex V4, the total incidenting edges are 1, 2, 3 and 4. Hence, the degree for the vertex V4 is again 4. For the vertex V5, 1, 2 and 3. So, the degree for the vertex V5 is 3. So, this is the total degrees for each and every vertex. For definition, we can say the number of edges incident with a vertex V of a graph G with self loops counted twice is called the degree of the vertex V. So now we will find out that for V1 we have degree 4, V2 degree 4, V3 degree 1, V4 degree 4, V5 for the degree is 3. So total degree count for this entire graph we can calculate by adding all those degrees. So the total degree count for the given graph is denoted by summation of degree of Vi, where I from 1 to 5. So it is degree of V1 plus degree of V2 plus degree of V3 plus degree of V4 plus degree of V5. So degree of V1 is 4, V2 is again 4, V3 is 1, V4 is 4 and V5 is 3. So the total degree is 4 plus 4 8 plus 1 9 plus 4 13 plus 3, it is 16. Now look, how many edges are given in this figure? Here total 8 edges are there. So total 8 edges and the degree count is 16. So that we can say 16 is actually the 2 into the number of edges. That is, here it is 8. So total degree is just the twice of the edges that we will find out. Using this one, we have a great theorem in graph theory. The name of this theorem is the handshaking theorem. The theorem statement is, if G be an undirected graph with E number of edges, then total degree count of the graph is twice the number of edges. From here, we can draw a inference that the total degree count of any graph is always an even number. And it is very true, because whenever we will count the degree, then it is always the multiple of 2. Whatever be the number of edge, it is the multiple of 2. So it is always an even number. From there, one more theorem we can draw, and the statement of this theorem is the total number of odd degree vertices in any graph is even. So here we will find out one more term, that is the odd degree vertex. What do you mean by the odd degree vertex? Here look, in this given graph, the degree for vertex V1 is 4. This is an even number, so that we can say V1 is an even degree vertex. For V2, the degree is 4. So V2 is also an even degree vertex. V3, its degree is 1, which is an odd number. So that we can say V3 is the odd degree vertex. For the vertex V4, the even number, so it is an even degree vertex. And V5, 3, it is an odd number. So V5 also we say it is an odd degree vertex. Now according to the theorem, we have that the total number of odd degree vertices in any graph is even. And it is very obvious that we know that even is even number. Odd plus odd is also even number. Odd plus even is odd number. Our total degree count is even. That's why if odd degree vertices are odd in number, then we will never get a even number as a summation. That's why if any odd degree vertex exists in the graph, then it has to be even number. Now, the degree of a vertex for directed graph. We know in our previous lecture what is the directed graph. So for directed graph, we will find out two type of degrees. One is called the in degree, another one is called the out degree. So what is this in degree and out degree? For example, suppose this one is our given picture. Here total 4 vertices are there. So corresponding to all these 4 vertices, we can calculate the degrees. Here the in degree and out degree depending upon the direction of the edges. Here for V1, the even edge for V1 is the starting vertex and V2 is the end vertex, as it is a directed edge. For any directed edge, the vertex which have the starting vertex for any edge, that one will get the out degree corresponding to that edge. And where it is the end vertex, that one will get the in degree. In a easy manner, we can say that wherever the edge is entering into a vertex, that will gives the in degree, and if one edge is going out from a vertex, then it will provides the out degree. So according to that concept, for the vertex V1, we denote the in degree as D plus sign and out degree D minus sign. So for V1, the in degree, here only one edge is coming in to the edge V1. So in degree is 1 and out degree is 2. Accordingly, for the vertex V1, the in degree is 1 and the out degree is 1. For the vertex V3, the in degree is 2 and the out degree is 1. For the vertex V4, the in degree is 1 and the out degree is 1. So this is the in degree and out degree for the individual vertices. Now we can add all these in degrees. If we add all these in degrees, then the total sum is 5. And total out degree sum is, that is also 5. So this 5 is the total number of edges. Look at the graph. Here the total number of edges are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the total number of in degree and the out degree both are same, and this count is exactly equal to the number of edges. It is very obvious because one edge contributes 2 degree to the graph, and if it is directed graph, then one edge contributes 1 in degree and 1 out degree in the graph. Hence, always the number of in degree and the number of out degrees are same, and if we add this number of in degrees and out degrees, then we will find out the total degree count for the graph. According to this one, we have a theorem for the in degree and out degree. The theorem is, in a directed graph or digraph, the sum of the out degrees of all vertices equals to the sum of the in degrees of all vertices equals to the number of edges in the digraph. Now, we have another thing that is called the degree sequence of a graph. So what do you mean by the degree sequence? If the degree of vertices of a graph G is scheduled in a sequence S, then that sequence S is called degree sequence of the graph G. For example, let this one is the graph. Here total 5 vertices are given. So for these 5 vertices, we can write a sequence format using their degrees. So S is equals to dV1, dV2, dV3, dV4 and dV5. Here dV1, the degree of V1 is 3. That's why it is 3. Degree of V2 is also 3. Degree of V3 is 2. Degree of V4 is 4. And degree of V5 is 2. So this is called the degree sequence of the graph. Now, one more thing is there, that is the minimum degree of a graph G. That is denoted by delta G. So what do you mean by the minimum degree? So minimum degree of the graph, not the vertices. So minimum degree of graph means whatever the degrees you have calculated for the entire graph for each individual vertices, all those degrees among which vertex have the minimum degree, that value is the delta G value. Here one thing is more maximum degree of a graph G, which is denoted by big delta G. That is the exactly in the similar way, the highest degree among all the vertices is that value. If we consider this graph, then at first for this graph we create the degree sequence. In this degree sequence, we find out which one is the minimum value. Here the minimum value is 2. That's why we say the minimum degree for the graph is 2. Exactly similarly, we will find out the maximum value here. So that is 4. So we say that the maximum degree of the graph is 4. Hello friends, welcome to this lecture. Today we come to know about some useful definition from the graph theory. So first definition is order of a graph. If G be a finite graph, then the number of vertices denoted by mod V is called the order of a graph. This mod V is the cardinality of V. That means how many vertices are there in the vertex set. For example, if this is our graph, then here we have V1, V2, V3, V4, V5 and V6. Total 6 vertices. So the cardinality of V is 6. So the order of the graph G is 6. Next is size of a graph. Size of a graph means if G be a finite graph, then the number of edges in G is called the size of the graph G and is denoted by the cardinality of E. If we consider the same example, here total 10 number of edges are there. Look, E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8, E9 and E10. So total 10 number of edges are there. So the size of the graph is 10. Next is the isolated vertex or isolated node. A vertex of degree 0 in a graph is called the isolated vertex. That means if any graph in any vertex have degree 0, it is possible for the null graph. Suppose this one is a null graph. Here 3 vertices are there, V1, V2, V3 and no edges. So each vertex having degree count 0. This is called the isolated vertices. Next is the pendant vertex. So pendant vertex is what? A vertex of a graph G with degree 1 is called the pendant vertex. If this one is the graph, then here the degree of V1 is 1, degree of V2 is 2, degree of V3 is 2 and degree of V4 is again 1. So degree of V1 is 1 and degree of V4 is 1. That's why these two vertices are called the pendant vertex. Now it is the regular graph, which is a very important graph. A graph in which all vertices are of equal degree is called a regular graph. If every vertex of G has degree k, then G is said to be k-regular graph. For example, let two vertices are there, V1 and V2, and these two are connected by an edge. As all these graphs are the simple graph, so more than one edge not possible for this graph. Now the degree of V1 is 1 and degree of V2 is 1. So both the vertices have same degree. That's why this is called the one regular graph. Now if we have the 3 vertices, then 3 vertices can connect accordingly. Here V1 having degree 2, V2 having degree 2, V3 also have the degree 2 and this one is a simple graph. So this one is said to be a 2 regular graph. Now if we consider 4 vertices and if we join accordingly, then here again we will find out V1 having degree 2, V2 degree 2, V3 have degree 2 and V4 have degree 2. So this one is also a 2 regular graph. Now if we consider this one, here the same previous graph but with this extra 2 edges, 2 diagonals we have added. So now for that V1 having degree 3, V2 having degree 3, V3 also having degree 3 and V4 is also degree 3. So all the vertices have the same degree. That's why this is called the 3 regular graph. So this is our regular graph. Now it is the complete graph. A simple graph G is said to be complete if every vertex in G is connected with every other vertex. That is, there exists exactly one edge between each pair of distinct vertices. The complete graph of n vertices is denoted by Kn. So if we have only one vertex, then there is no edge connectivity. So this one we say it is a complete graph where the degree of this vertex is 0 and this is denoted by K1. Now if we have 2 vertices, then in between 2 vertices we can draw only one edge. So this is a complete graph. So this is called the K2. If we have 3 vertices, then with 3 vertices from this first vertex we can add both of these 2 vertices. So we can draw 2 edges from this vertex. Now from this vertex also we can join these 2. From this vertex also we can join these 2. So now this is a complete graph because no more edges we can insert here. If we add any one more edge, then it is no longer a simple graph. Because if any one more edge you want to connect, then either you have to join these 2 or these 2 or these 2. Then it forms a parallel edge. So it will no more a simple graph. Hence this one is a complete graph and this is denoted by K3. If we have 4 vertices, then we will draw the vertex in this way. From one vertex all the 3 vertices should be joined. From this vertex again all the 3 vertices should be joined by an edge, and similarly for the other. So this is a complete graph and it is denoted by K4. Now if we have 5 vertices, then any one vertex if we choose, then the remaining 4 vertices should be added by the 4 edges. Now again this one, we should add again accordingly with all remaining 4. So in this way, this vertex is completed, and this is called the complete graph and denoted by K5. One magical thing is that if we choose this one, so this one have 2 vertices and both the vertex have the same degree, and 2 vertex, the degree is 1 less, that is 1. So that it is called the 1 regular. Here 3 vertex and all the vertex having degree 2. So it is, we can say 2 regular. Again 4 vertex and all the vertex having degree 3. So it is the 3 regular graph. And here 5 vertices and each vertex having degree 4. So it is the 4 regular graph. So from here we can conclude that any complete graph is a regular graph also. So we can say every complete graph is a regular graph, but every regular graph not necessarily a complete graph. Just look, this one is a regular graph, but it is not a complete graph. But this one is a complete as well as the regular too. The second conclusion we can draw from here that Kn, that is the complete graph with n vertices, has exactly n into n minus 1 by 2 edges. Just look here, from if 3 vertices are there, then from one vertex we have to draw 2 edges to join the maximum edges. Now the second vertex if we consider, then with that vertex, this is already, this connectivity already is there, so only one more edge we are supposed to draw, and from the last one we need not join any edges. That's why from the first vertex we required 2 edges, from the second we required 1, and from the third we required 0. So accordingly, if we go for the n number of vertices, so from the first vertex we have to draw n minus 1 number of edges. From the second one we have to draw n minus 2 number of edges. From third one we should draw n minus 3 number of edges, and from the last one the 0 number of edges. And if we add all those, then we will find out like this: n minus 1 plus n minus 2 plus, in this way it is up to 1. So if we add this one, then the formula for this one is n into n minus 1 by 2. So the complete graph have exactly n into n minus 1 by 2 number of edges. And every complete graph has n minus 1 regular, and that is very obvious, which we already have done. According to this all, we have one theorem. The statement of this theorem is the maximum degree of any vertex in a simple graph with n vertices is n minus 1. It is very obvious. If a complete graph is there, then a complete graph with n number of vertices have exactly n minus 1 degree. So if it is a simple graph, not a complete graph, then we can have at most n minus 1 number of degree for one vertex or for each vertex if it have n number of vertices. Now the second theorem from here is the maximum number of edges in a simple graph with n number of vertices is n into n minus 1 by 2. Again, as it is the simple graph, that's why we can't say that exact number of edges are this one, but the maximum number of edges are n into n minus 1 by 2. For the proof, we can take the handshaking theorem. Handshaking theorem, which we discuss in our lecture number 2. So according to the handshaking theorem, the total degree count for a graph is 2e, that is the double the number of edges. Now that is the degree of vi for 1 to n number of vertices, means it is dv1 plus dv2 up to dvn, that one is equals to te. If it is a complete graph, then with the n number of vertices, then the degree for v1 is n minus 1, degree for v2 is also n minus 1, degree for v3 n minus 1, degree for vn is also n minus 1. So this one. If we add all these n minus 1, this is total n number of times. So if we add this n number of times, then it will becomes n into n minus 1 is equals to 2e. Now this 2 if we take in this side, then we will find out it is n into n minus 1 by 2 is equals to e, which proves our theorem. Hello friends, welcome to the lecture on bipartite graph. A graph G is bipartite if the vertex set V can be partitioned into two disjoint subsets V1 and V2 such that every edge in E connects a vertex in V1 and a vertex in V2. That is, there is no edge in G which connects either two vertices in V1 or two vertices in V2. So in a bipartite graph, we can say that a self loop never be included in the bipartite graph. For example, what is bipartite graph? Let this one is a graph. Here V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6 are 6 vertices in such a manner so that we can divide these 6 vertices into two vertex subset. So one is say V1 which contains V1, V2 and V3. Another contains V4, V5 and V6. So look, V1, V2, V3 is one set of vertex and V4, V5, V6 is another in such a manner so that this total 6 vertices are the union of these two vertex subsets. And if we take the intersection of these two vertices, then it is 5. That means there are no common vertices in these two vertices. One more important thing is that in between the vertex V1, V2 and V3, there are no edges. Again, in between V4, V5, V6, there are no edge connectivity. If there exists any edge, then it is connected in this way. F of E is UV, where U is the vertex from the set V1 and V is the vertex from the set V2. That means, suppose this one is the edge, then this edge connects with V1 and V6, where V1 is the vertex of V1, capital V1, and V6 is the vertex from the set capital V2. So if this type of graph you will find out, then this one is called the bipartite graph. And very obvious that self loop never be included here, because self loop means its starting and the end both vertices are same. So its starting point and the ending point both lies in the same set of vertex, which is not possible for the bipartite graph. So corresponding to this bipartite graph, there is a question. Suppose these are the 3 graphs given. The question is these 3 graphs are bipartite or not? So apparently what you can say, that these are bipartite or not? I think obviously it is not looks like a bipartite graph. But let us observe the criterions of the bipartite graph is fulfilling for this vertices, these graphs or not. So here first graph is G1. Here 4 vertices are there, V1, V2, V3 and V4. Now let us draw the graph again accordingly. Here V1 initially, so let us set a vertex here V1. V1 connects with V2 and V4. So we take V2 is this one and V4 is this one. Now V1 connects with V2, V4, that we have done. Now here V3 is left. So V3 connects with V2 and V4 again. So if we say this one is our V3 and we connect accordingly, so then V3 and V4 connected, then we say this one is the same graph as of G1. Now if we observe this new graph, newly drawn graph, then we will find out that V1 and V3 is the two vertex which have no individual edge connections. Again V2 and V4, they have no edge connections, but V1 have two edges which connects with the V2 and V4, and V3 again have the two edge connectivities which are connects with V2 and V4. These two are the two subsets of the vertex. So we can say this one is a bipartite graph. If similarly we consider the graph G2, here total 6 vertices are given. Accordingly, the previous one, we try to draw this graph in a different manner. So V1 initially, so V1 is connected with V2 and V6. So if we say this is our V1, then it is connected with V2 and V6. So we can say this is V2 and this one is our V6. So V1 connects with V2 and V6. Now V3. So V3 we can say this one. So V3 connects with V2 and V4. V3 connects with V2 and V4, we can say this one. One more vertex left, that is V5. So if we say it is V5, then V5 connects with V2, V4 and V6, all three. So V2, V6, V2, V6 and V4. So after, in this way, if we draw the picture, then we will say that yes, this one is also a bipartite graph. Again, one more graph is given, that is G3. If this one again we try to draw in a different manner, then we start from V1. So if it is V1, so V1 connects with V2, V4 and V6. So we can say this is V2, V4 and V6. So V1, V2, V1, V4 and V6, V1. Next here V3. So we can say this is V3. V3 connects with V2, V4 and V6. V3 connects with V2, V4 and V6. Remaining is V5. So V5 again connects with V6, V4 and V2. V2, V4 and V6. Yes, this one is also the bipartite graph. So apparently it may seem that one graph is bipartite or not, but for testing this one, we should redraw the picture, and according to the definition of the bipartite graph, we come to our conclusion. Now it is the complete bipartite graph. So complete bipartite means we know how the bipartite graph we can draw. For the complete bipartite graph, let V1 and V2 are the two set of vertices, where V1 have m number of vertices and V2 have n number of vertices. Total given number of vertices are m plus n. Then here E is the edge set. So in edge set, definitely there are m cross n number of edges. If we will find out m cross n number of edges in the graph, then we say it is a complete graph, complete bipartite graph. For example, let this one is a graph where V1 and V2 consists in the set V1, where it have the cardinality 2, and another set of vertex that contains V3, V4 and V5, so its cardinality is 3. Now V1, it connects with all these 3. V2, it connects with all these 3. So total 6 number of edges we will find out. It is 2 cross 3. So this total 6 number of edges we will find out. And look, here from V1, it is connected all the vertices in the other side. V2, it connects all the vertices on the other side. So we say this one is a complete bipartite graph. So from here we can conclude for the complete bipartite graph is that a graph which is denoted by complete bipartite graph is denoted by KMN. It is a graph which has total m plus n number of vertices and m into n number of edges. Corresponding to this bipartite graph, there is a problem. So the problem is what? Prove that the minimum number of edges in a bipartite graph with n vertices is n square by 4. So what we are supposed to prove? That the maximum number of edges in a bipartite graph with n number of vertices is n square by 4. We know that a bipartite graph means it is the union of, the entire set of vertex is the union of two subset of the vertices V1 and V2, and let the cardinality of V1 is x. That means x number of vertices lies in the set V1. And V2 set then definitely contains n minus x number of vertices, as V set contains total n number of vertices. So now the largest number of edges is, if it is a complete graph, then we know that the number of edges contains, it is m cross n. Here it should be x into n minus x. So that we can say fx is the number of vertices, number of edges, and this number is x into n minus x. So we just form it as a function of x. Now we find out, our requirement is what? Our requirement is to find out the maximum number of edges. So for that, we just take the first derivative of this function. So this one is the function of x. Its first derivative is n minus 2x and its second order derivative is minus of 2. Now for the maximum value or minimum value when we are going to calculate, then we should equate this one to 0. After equating this one to 0, we will find out x value is n by 2. Now at this point of x, the functional value of the second order derivative is minus 2, which is less than 0. Hence we can say fx is maximum when x value is n by 2. Therefore, the maximum number of edges in a bipartite graph with n number of vertices is, if we substitute x value in this function, then we will find out f of n by 2 at this point is equals to n by 2 into n minus n by 2 after calculation of this one, and simplifying we will find out its value is n square by 4. Hence the proof. Hello friends, welcome to the lecture Walk, Trail, Path, Circuit and Cycle. In this lecture we come to know about this walk, trail, path and all. But before starting that, we should come to know what are the adjacent vertices. So adjacent vertices are two vertices that are connected by an edge are called adjacent vertices. So for example, this one is a graph. Here if we consider V1 and V2, these two vertices connected by an edge, hence we can say V1 and V2 are the two adjacent vertices. Similarly, if we consider V2, V3, it is connected by an edge E2. So V2 and V3 are the adjacent vertices. If we say V5 and V3 are not directly connected. That's why V3 and V5 are not adjacent vertices. So a vertex is said to be adjacent to itself if it is an end point of a loop in the graph. If in a graph any loop is exist, then for the loop the starting point and the end point both are same. That's why we can say V2 is adjacent to itself. Now it is the adjacent edges. Adjacent edges means two or more edges incident on the same vertex are called adjacent edges. If we consider the vertex V1, here the edge E1, E8 and E5, these three are the adjacent edges. For the adjacency, an edge is said to be incident on its endpoints. Any edge means it is incidenting to the two vertex. Any edge, suppose E1, it is incidenting to the two vertex V1 and V2. So that is called the incident on the vertex V1 and the vertex V2. These all definitions are required to know what is the walk. Now what is walk? A walk is defined as a finite sequence of adjacent vertices and edges, beginning and ending with vertices such that each edge is incident to its end vertices. For example, this one is a graph. In this graph, here total 5 vertices are given: V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. E1, E2 are the parallel edges and E6 is the self loop. Now, walk means the combination of vertices and the edges in such a manner so that a walk should start from a vertex and it has to be ended to a vertex, because one edge without the vertex have no existence. So now let we consider a walk it is V1, E1. So V1, E1, V2, E4, V3. Come back to V2. So it is E4, V2, then E2 and V1. So look, it starts with a vertex, it ended to a vertex. It is the repeated combination of the vertex, edge, vertex, edge, vertex, edge like this. This one is a walk. In a walk, any vertex may repeat any number of times. Any edge may repeat any number of times. Another example of the walk is V2, E3, V5, E5, V4, E6, V4, E5, V5. So these are the examples of the walk. In this way we can draw lots of walks. In a walk, next is the length of the walk. So length of the walk is very important. Length of the walk means in a walk how many edges are included. That count is the length of the walk. If we consider the first walk, then its length is 1, 2, 3, 4. So its length is 4. And for the walk B, its length is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now it is the closed walk. Closed walk is what? If a walk starts from a vertex, suppose it is V1, and it will end it at the same vertex, that is V1, then it is called the closed walk. And the open walk is what? If its starting and the end vertex are two different vertices, then it is called the open walk. So closed walk is here A and open walk is here B. Next it is the trail. So what do you mean by the trail? A trail is a walk where no edges are repeated. In a walk we will find out that any number of vertices, any number of edges may repeat any number of times. But in a trail, no edges are repeated. So for example, if this one is the graph, then we construct a trail. Here it is V1, E1, V2, E2, V3, E3, V4, E8, then again V4, E4, V5, E7 and V4. So look, here V4 repeats 1, 2, 3 number of times, but no edges are repeated. So this one is a trail. Similarly, V1, E1, V2, E2, V3, E6, V1. This one is another trail. So again, similarly, we can calculate the length of the trail also. So the length of the trail is again the same way, the number of edges involved in a trail. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if it is the trail A. And if the trail B we consider, then its length is 1, 2 and 3. If it's in a trail, the starting and the ending vertex are two different vertex, then it is called the open trail. And if its starting and the end vertex are same for the second one, then it is called the closed trail. One more important thing regarding the trail is that if you have the closed trail, then closed trail is called the circuit. Yes, closed trail is called the circuit. That means if we start from a vertex and we proceed, and after whole traversing, if you will come back to the same vertex, here your vertex may be repeat any number of times but no edges can be repeated, then this one is forming the circuit. Now it is the path. So what do you mean by the path? A path is a trail or walk where no vertices are repeated. So in a trail we will find out that that is a walk where no edges are repeated. And in the path we will find out that here no vertices are repeated. No vertex repeated means edges definitely not repeated. For example, if we have the same graph, then from here we can consider a path like V1, E1, V2, E2, V3, E3, V4, E4, V5. So look, this one is a path we may consider. So length of this path is 1, 2, 3, 4. In the similar way, the length of this path is the 4. Now here the closed path will not happen because A path means here no vertices are repeated. If any vertex starting or ending, if these two vertices even repeated, then it is no more obey the definition of the path. That's why closed path, such things will not happen. So what happens if, for instance, here we have the path ended up to V5. So after V5, if E5 and V1 we include here, suppose E5 and V1, if we include these two here, then what happens? Here the all vertices are occurring exactly once except the vertex V1, which is the end vertex in this entire path. If you will have this type of situation, then this one is called the cycle. So what do you mean by the cycle? So a path never be a closed path, as end vertices are repeated in a closed path. But if in a path starting and ending vertex are same, then it is called a cycle or a simple circuit. After that, we have two more definitions. One is the connected graph. A graph is called connected. A graph is called connected if there exists at least one path between every pair of vertices in the graph. So what do you mean by the connected graph? So in the connected graph, whatever be the graph you have, you just choose any two vertex from this and you will find out that in between these two vertices there definitely a connection or a path. Then it is called the connected graph. For the disconnected graph, if there is no path between at least any one pair of vertices, then the graph is called disconnected graph. For example, this one is the entire graph. Here V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, V7, V8. So total 8 vertices are given in this graph. So in this graph, this one is called the disconnected graph, because if we want to go from V2 to V5, then there is no connectivity. If we want to go from V2 to V8, then there is no connectivity. If we want to go from V6 to V8, then there is no connectivity. So there are so many vertices, so many pair of vertices are exist where no connectivities are there, no paths are there. So this is called the disconnected path. Then the component of a graph. Component of a graph is the thing which we come from the disconnected graph. Every disconnected graph consists of graphs. Each of these connected subgraphs is called the component of a graph. So what do you mean by the component of a graph? Any graph, if it is disconnected, that means it have minimum 2 parts or more than 2 parts. So these are called the components of the graph. So in this graph, 1, 2 and 3. These 3 are the components. So in this graph, there are total 3 components exist. And component we can denote it by the sign K. For this graph, the number of K is 3. If a connected graph is there, then the K value is 1 always for a connected graph. For a connected graph. So depending upon this component, we will conclude something. So special notes are here. So the first thing is a simple graph with n vertices and k components cannot have more than n minus k into n minus k plus 1 divided by 2 edges. We know that a connected graph have maximum, a connected simple graph, and if it is a complete graph, then it have maximum number of edges, or exactly the number of edges are n into n minus 2 by n into n minus 1 by 2. When it is the connected graph. Connected graph means its number of components are 1. And if in this formula we substitute k is equals to 1, then we will find out n minus 1, then n minus 1 plus 1 divided by 2. So this one. So here if we simplify, we will find out n into n minus 1 by 2. So if it is a connected graph, then this is the number of edges, maximum number of edges if it is a simple graph. And if it is a disconnected graph, then depending upon the number of components, we will have, this is the total number of edges which a disconnected graph may have. Now the second note is what? That is, if a graph G may be connected or may be disconnected has exactly two vertices of odd degree, then there is a path joining these two vertices. If a graph is connected or disconnected, whatever it be, if you will have exactly two vertices with odd degree, then definitely there is a connection between these two graphs. So suppose this one is the graph. So look here, its degree is 2, its degree is 2, its degree is 2, its degree is 3 and its degree is 1. And this graph exactly two vertices are there which have the odd degree. So definitely there should be an connection. Without that connection, you can't draw the graph. The minimum number of edges in a connected graph with n vertices is n-1. That is again very true. The minimum number of edges in a connected graph. A graph is connected with n number of vertices. Now, if a graph connected with n number of vertices, then n vertex. Among that, if we consider any one, that it has to connect with the remaining n-1 vertices, then only it is connected, otherwise not. That's why we say the minimum number of edges in a connected graph with n number of vertices is n-1. One more conclusion is, a simple graph with n vertices must be connected if it has more than n-1 into n-2 by 2 edges. So if you have a simple graph with n number of vertices, it is a connected graph, you can say, if you will find out that its edge count is more than n-1 into n-2 by 2. Hello friends, in our last lecture, we know what is walk, trail and path. In this lecture, we come to know about Eulerian graph. Initially, Euler line. A trail in a graph is called an Euler line if it includes every edge of the graph. We know the trail means it is the consecutive combination of vertices and edges where no edges are repeated. Now, all the edges of a graph, if included in a trail, then it is called the Euler line. For example, if we consider V1, V3, V2, V1, V4, V3, then V1 to V2 includes E5, V3 to V2 includes E2, V2 to V1 includes E1, V1 to V4 includes E4, V4 to V3 includes E3. So, we include all the edges in this trail. So, this is called the Euler line. Now, it is the Euler circuit. A circuit that contains all the edges is called Euler circuit. For example, if this one is our graph, then we may consider here V1, V2, V3, again V1, V4, V5, V1. So this one is a trail where no edges repeated and all the edges of this graph are included here. Moreover, its starting vertex is V1 and its end vertex is again V1. So it is forming a circuit. This one is called the Euler circuit. Now, a graph which contains an Euler circuit is called an Euler graph or Eulerian graph. So, this one we can say is a Euler graph. Corresponding to that, we have some important result on Euler graph. So first result is, if a graph G has a vertex of odd degree, then there can be no Euler circuit in G. So in a graph, if there are any vertex of odd degree, then we can't draw any Euler circuit. Any graph is given. This graph includes a Euler circuit or Euler line or not. How we will come to know about that? For that, these consequences are. So if a graph G has a vertex of odd degree, any vertex of odd degree, then we say that Euler circuit not possible to form. If a graph G is connected and each vertex has even degree, then there is an Euler circuit in G. If in a graph all the vertices are even, then it is surely contains an Euler circuit. One more consequence is, if a graph G has more than two vertices of odd degree, then there can be no Euler line in G. In a graph, if any vertex is odd, then it will not contain Euler circuit, very obvious. But if in a graph more than two vertices are odd degree vertex, then it is not contains Euler line even. So this is, for example, here look, V1, V2, V3, V4, these are the four vertices. All these vertices having degree 3. So the number of odd degree vertices in this graph are 4. So we can definitely say it will not contain Euler line even. So look, V1 to V2, then V2 to V3, then V3 to V1 again, then V4. Either we can include this one or we can include this one. So it is not possible to include all these lines just traversing exactly once. So it is not possible. That's why we can say the Euler line is not possible here. For example, let us take a problem. So here three graphs are given. And the question is, these three graphs, among these, which contains Euler line or Euler circuit, that we are supposed to find out. So now how to find out? Initially, let us observe the first graph. Here in this graph, at first after observing the graph, we at first calculate the degree of each vertex. So V1 having degree 2, V2 degree 2, V3 having degree 4, V4 having degree 3, V5 the degree 2, V6 the degree 3 and V7 the degree 2. V8 also having degree 2. So here all the vertices have the even vertex except V4 and V6. These two are the odd vertices, and V4 and V6 have exactly two odd vertices. So just observing the degree of the vertex, we can see this contains an Euler line, but it is not contain the Euler circuit. You may check. If the graph is this one, here the degree for V1 is 1, degree for V2 is 1, 2 and 3, degree for V3 is again 1 and degree for V4 is 3. So all the vertices are odd degree vertex, so Euler circuit is not possible to draw. Moreover, there are more than two vertices which are odd degree. That's why Euler line even not possible to draw in this graph. Next graph is this one. Here V1 have degree 2, V2 have degree 2, V3 have degree 2, V4 have degree 2, V5 have degree 2, V6 have degree 4 and V7 have degree 2. So all the vertices are even vertex here. That's why this graph we can say is having the Euler circuit. Hence, among these three, only this graph is the Euler graph. So this consequence is written here. This is about graph A, this is about the graph B, and this is about the graph C. Hello students, this lecture is about Hamiltonian graph. Initially, we come to know the Hamiltonian path. In Euler graph, we come to know about the Euler line. Here it is Hamiltonian path. So a path in a graph G is called Hamiltonian path if it contains every vertex of G. Path means there no vertex repetitions are allowed. Now, from a graph, if we can include all the vertices in this path, then it is called the Hamiltonian path. For example, if this is our graph, then if we include V1, V2, V2 to V3, V3 to V4, then this one is a path which includes all these four vertices. So this one is a Hamiltonian path. Next, it is the Hamiltonian circuit or Hamiltonian cycle. A circuit in a connected graph G is said to be Hamiltonian circuit if it includes every vertex of G exactly once except the starting vertex. So if the same graph we consider, then here if we extend this one to V1, that means V1 to V2, V2 to V3, V3 to V4 and V4 to V1. So this one is forming the Hamiltonian circuit. Here initial or starting vertex is V1 and end vertex is also V1. That's why this is the Hamiltonian circuit, and it includes definitely all the vertices of the graph. So a Hamiltonian graph is what? A graph G is called Hamiltonian or Hamiltonian graph if it has a Hamiltonian circuit. So this one is a Hamiltonian graph. Now the few important results from the Hamiltonian graph. So the first one is every cycle is a Hamiltonian graph. That is very obvious. A Hamiltonian circuit in a graph of n vertices consists of exactly n number of edges. So if this one is the Hamiltonian circuit, then it will contain exactly the same number of edges as the number of vertices. Here total 4 vertices are there. So if we do the Hamiltonian circuit, then it is V1 to V2, V2 to V3, V3 to V4, V4 to V1. So it includes 1, 2, 3 and 4 edges. 4 vertices are there and 4 edges are there. Now Hamiltonian path. A Hamiltonian path in a graph of n vertices consists exactly n minus 1 number of edges. If instead of the circuit it is the path, that means it is open, so that here the Hamiltonian path is V1, V2, V3, V4. It will consist 1, 2 and 3 number of edges, total 4 vertices and 3 edges. That means if n number of vertices are there in a graph, then obviously n minus 1 number of edges are there. One more consequence, we can say that a complete bipartite graph KMN is Hamiltonian if m is equals to n and n is greater than 1. We know the bipartite graph means it have two parts. One part contains m number of vertices and another part contains n number of vertices. For example, this one. So that we can say this is the one side of vertex, here 3 vertices and here 2 vertices. And if it connects with all possible vertices, then it is called the complete bipartite graph. Now, if the number of both side vertex have the same number, that means if there are 3 vertex, then here also we have the 3 vertex and it is a complete graph, complete bipartite graph, where n, that means the number of vertices in each side has to be greater than 1. Then it is a Hamiltonian graph. Obvious. For example, suppose this one is a graph given. The question is, this graph having Hamiltonian graph, or this graph is Hamiltonian graph or not, or Eulerian or not, or both. So if this one is a graph, so at first it is Hamiltonian or Eulerian. For that we find out the degree of the vertices. So the degree of this vertex is 3, this is 3, this is 3, this is 2 this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and this is 2. Here the number of odd vertices are 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is more than 2. So more than 2 odd vertices are there. That means this one is not a Eulerian graph. But for Hamiltonian graph, we can take that a Hamiltonian circuit is there or not. So if we start V1 to V2, V2 to V3, V3 to V4, V4 to V5, V5 to V6 and V6 to V1, then it is forming the Hamiltonian circuit which contains all the vertices exactly once. So it is a Hamiltonian but not the Eulerian graph. Next, suppose this one is the graph. Here the degree of the vertices are 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, then it is 4, then it is 2, it is also 2, then it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So all the vertices are even degree vertex. Hence, this one is an Eulerian graph. But it is not a Hamiltonian graph because for this point we can't draw a circuit which have no repeated vertex. Not possible. Now if this one is the graph, here the degree of the vertex is 2, 3, 1. 1, 3 and 2. So odd degree vertices are 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is more than 2. Hence not a Euler graph but the Hamiltonian line can be drawn. This one V3 to V2 to V1, V6, V5 and V4. But it is not consisting of Hamiltonian circuit. Hence, this is neither a Eulerian graph nor a Hamiltonian graph. Hello friends, in this video we come to know about shortest path and its algorithm. So path, we know what is path. Path is the combination of vertices and edges more, where no vertex repeated more than once. Now shortest path means what? So shortest path means if G is a graph and U and V be the two vertices in it, then there may exist several paths connecting U and V. Among those, the path containing minimum number of edges is called the shortest path between U and V. So for example, let this one is the graph and we want to move from the vertex A to the vertex D. Now if you want to move from A to D, then look, there are so many paths are available. So for example, A to I to H to F, F to E, E to D, that is one of the path. Again A to H to F, F to E, E to D, that is one more path. Again A to H to F, F to G, G to D, this is another one. And again this way we can move, this is one more path. A to B, B to D, this is one more. So look, there are so many paths in between A to D. Among all these paths, which one is the shortest? That is our concern. So how to find out the shortest? At first we count the number of edges involving on those paths. Among all those paths, which path contain the minimum number of edges? That one is called the shortest path. So here these are all possible paths from A to D. First path contains 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 number of edges. So its length is 4. Second path, its length is again 4. Third path, its length is 5. Its length is 5 and its length is 2. So we can say A to D, if you want to reach, then the shortest path is A to B, B to D. So this is the shortest path when the graph is a unweighted graph. Unweighted means no edges have a specific weight provided. No weights are provided means each edge having the value 1 as its weight. Now weighted graph is what? That already we know. Weighted graph means if a graph have specified some specific weights. For example, suppose this graph is given. Here the weights are given as 1, 2, 3. This is also 3, 2, 2, 3. It is 5. It is 8. Then it is 2 and it is 2. So these are the weights provided to the graph. So now it becomes the weighted graph. So if for this graph we want to find out the weight, we want to find out the shortest path in between A to D, then we should find out what should be the shortest path. So here definitely A to B, B to D may not be the shortest path, because if your graph is the weighted graph, that time for all the selected paths we should add the corresponding weights of these edges. After adding all those weights, we will find out a specific total weight of the entire path. Among all the possible paths, which path have the minimum weight, that is the shortest path. So if we do so, then for here, if we consider the first path, then A to H is its weight is 1, then H to F its weight is 2, F to E its weight is 3, E to D then its weight is again 3, so that its total weight is 3, 6, then 3, 9. So its total weight is 9. Similarly, for the second one, its weight is 1, 3, 5 and 2, that is 7. Its weight is 2 to 4, 6, 9, then 12. Then its weight is 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 10, and its weight is 8 and 5, it is 13. So after calculation of all these weights, we find out that this is the minimum weight. Hence, the path this one, then this one and this one, this is the shortest path. So according to the situation, the shortest path will change. So shortest path for the weighted graph, for the definition we can say, let G be a weighted graph, U and P be two vertices in G. The sum of the weights of all the edges in a path is called weight of the path. Among all the paths connecting U and V, the path having the minimum weight is called shortest path between U and V in the graph. So here we will find out that in between two vertices there may be more than one path. So if there are so many paths, so among all those paths, which one is the shortest, that searching is very much tedious if there are suppose so many paths. So for that we have an algorithm by which directly we can find out exactly the shortest path only. So this algorithm is named as the Dijkstra's algorithm. So Dijkstra's algorithm to find out the shortest path. So how to apply this algorithm? So initially this one is the graph given. In this graph, it is a weighted graph, and look here the self loop, even the parallel edges are also given. For the path, no self loop, no parallel edges are required. That's why initially we simplify the given graph. How to simplify? We should remove the self loop first, then we remove the parallel edges with the highest or the greater weights. So we just keep among all the parallel edges the edge which have the minimum weight. So if we reduce this one, so look here, these are the three parallel edges. Among these three, the edge, this one have the weight 8. So we should keep this edge and remove these two. Similarly, these two edges in between, 3 is the minimum weight. That's why we keep this one and remove this one. And we definitely remove this one, this parallel, this self loop. After all this removal, we will find out this is the simple graph, simple weighted graph. So now, here the question is, you should find out the shortest path between V3 to V6. Our target is to find out the shortest path between V3 to V6. So V3 is this vertex and V6 is this vertex. So now how to proceed? So we just create a table. So in this table, initially at the 0th label, what we will do, our starting point is what? That is V3. So we assign the value 0 to the V3, and that is set the starting label or the base label for the vertex V3. It is the starting point. Now the remaining all the vertices here in this table, we just write all these vertices first, and this is the remark column. So now V3 having assigned the labeling value 0, and remaining all the vertices we should assign the value infinity, and the remark column we write V3 is the starting vertex. Now in the next stage, what we will do, we should start our traversing from V3. So V3 is connected with V2 and V4. If a vertex is connected with any other vertex, then accordingly we assign the label, and if two vertices are not at all connected, then we assign the label as infinity. So V3 connected with V2. So V3, its labeling value is 0, that is the permanent label, that is fixed. Now from V3 to V2 there is a connectivity and its weight is 7. So what happens? The previous weight of the previous labeling value for the vertex V2 is infinity. Now as it is connected with V3 and V2 are connected, that's so why now its value we should say 0 is the base value. So 0 plus 7, that is total 7. So among these two, previously it is infinity, now it is 0 plus 7. So among these two, which one is the minimum value? The value is 7. That's why we assign the value 7 to the vertex V2. Again, V3 is connected with V4. So come to the V4. Here, previous value is infinity. Now it is 0 plus 1. So that its value is 1. So among these two, the minimum value is 1. Hence, we assign it as the 1 value. With the vertex V3, no other vertices are directly connected. That's why their labeling value is still infinity. Hence, previously it is infinity, still it is infinity, so it is infinity. Accordingly, all the remaining are infinity. After assigning the new labeling values, we search that which value is the minimum among all those vertices. So we will find out this is the minimum value. That is already done. So this is the minimum value. So this is corresponding to the vertex V4. So in the remarks column, we should write V4 gets its permanent label. After getting this one, we should move to the vertex V4. So this is our next point. After moving to the V4, we find out V4 connected with the vertex V2, V7 and V5. Here one thing you should remember, which vertex gets its permanent label. We should not do anything with those vertex again. Which vertex are not yet get the permanent label, for them only we change according to the connectivity. So now V4 connected to V2. So come to here. So V4 have the labeling value 1. Previous value for the label of V2 is 7. Now it is 1 plus V4 to V2, it is 3. So its valuation is 1 and it is 3. So 1 plus 3 means 4. So 7 is the previous, new is the 4. Among these two, the minimum value is the 4. So that the minimum labeling value for V2 is 4. Again, V4 is connected with V5. So here, V4 is connected with V5 means previous value is infinity. Now it is 1 plus 3. So it is 4. So minimum of these two is definitely 4. Similarly, V4 is connected with V7 also. So it is previously 1, now it is 4. So total 5. So V7 for, we will find out previously it is infinity. Now it is 5. So minimum of these two is 5. So it is 5. So, and the remaining are the infinity because there are no direct connectivity with V4. After doing all these, we just again search that what is the minimum value in all these labeling values. This is already selected, this is already selected. So among them 4 is the minimum value. But here 4 occurs at 2 places. If there is a tie, that means 4 occurs in more than 1 places, then we should choose any one of them. Remember, any one of them. So let us choose V5 as our permanent label here, and in the remark we should write V5 gets the permanent label. So we move to the V5. Now again similarly we search V5 connecting with V6, V7 and V4. Or yes, it is also with V1. So V5 is connected, but we will not get back here because V4 already gets its permanent level. So V5 connected with V1, V6 and V7. Accordingly, if we will change in the previous way, then we will find out that this one with here V1 is connected and previous level is infinity. Now it is 4 plus 10 means it is total 14. Now V2 is previously 4. Now no connectivity, that means it is infinity, that's why minimum is 4. Similarly here it is 5, previously already it is there, and it is 11. And among all these the minimum value is 4, so that in this level V2 gets its permanent level, so that we should write in the remarks column that V2 gets the permanent level. So that we move to V2. So V2 is here, its connectivity is with V1, V7. With V3, V4 also, but V3, V4 already gets its permanent level, that's why we concerned with V1 and V7 only. And accordingly, if we change the leveling values, so that we will find out all these leveling values, and here we will observe that the minimum leveling value is 5, because these are selected, these all are selected. So this is corresponding to the vertex V7, so we should write V7 gets its permanent level. Now come to the vertex V7. So from V7 now, if we choose, then we will find out V7 connected with V1, V5, V6, V5 already done, so V7 connected with V1 and V6. Accordingly, if we just change the leveling values, so we will find out here it is 8, this one is 7, and these all already get the permanent level. So this is the minimum. So we should write V6 gets the permanent level. Now our question is what? We should find out the shortest distance between V3 to V6. We have started from V3 and now look, we get V6 as its permanent level. That means we reach to the destination. Whenever your target point gets the permanent level, we should stop to do this table. So we should stop here. That means we already done our shortest path and its distance. So what is the shortest path and what is its length, or what is the shortest distance? So shortest distance for, we can say it has to be 7. Now how to find out the shortest path? So for that what we will do, this is the final destination. So we just observe these two leveling values, the two consecutive leveling values for this vertex. If these two leveling values are two different values, then we search that at the previous level, iteration, which vertex gets the permanent level. Here we will find out this vertex gets the permanent level, that is V7. So in the graph we have V6 is the final destination and V7 gets its permanent level. So we just take this one. So V7 we will choose. From V7 now we again go to checking that these two are same or not. Yes, these are same. If it is same, then we go to the more upper value. So these two we should check. These two again same. So we should move more upward. So if we go here, then we just compare among these two. Yes, here these two are the two different values. Two different values means now at this level which vertex gets permanent, that we should check. Here we will find out that V4 gets the permanent value. That means V7 to V4 we should traverse back. After V4, now your cursor should be come to the V4, and after V4 we just again go upward and we compare in between these two leveling values. If these two are different, we find out which vertex get the permanent level at this stage. Here it is V3. So from V4 to V3. So V3 is your starting point, hence we will get the shortest path as V3 to V4, V4 to V7, V7 to V6, and its length is 1 plus 4, 5 plus 2, it is 7. It is same as this length. So this is our shortest path algorithm by which we can find out the shortest path directly. Thank you for this lecture. Welcome.